Hey everybody and welcome to a new One Piece video. It's finally time for one of the most anticipated chapters of the Kuma flashback, God Valley. The preview was already strong, but it turns out it didn't show much. This episode was simply sensational. My god. It's directed by Korean director Hyun Eri, a director I've spoken about a lot in my previous videos. But for those who don't know, her first episode was at the beginning of Egghead, episode 1095, but she was only directing here, while series director Satoshi Ito did most of the storyboards, who you could consider one of her big two mentors, as she worked as an assistant director under his guidance before. Her second episode was under the mentorship of the co-series director Yasunori Koyama, and her third episode was with Ito again. So it's safe to say she learned the most from these two, although she did work as an assistant director under Ryota Nakamura and Toshinori Fukuzawa in the past as well. So all of these great directors teaching her led to her magnum opus now, which is One Piece episode 1130. Unlike her previous episodes, she fully storyboarded this episode herself, so this is the true look at her abilities. And one of the most pleasant surprises about the episode is Masami Mori's involvement as a training animation director. So it's a great opportunity to not only make the episode look amazing with his supervision, but also birth more talent under his guidance, which is how previous students of his got the spotlight in the past, and now look at them helming important episodes. The main animation director is Kazuya Hisada, someone who's been around since the very first One Piece episode and helmed the show's animation and designs for most of the time skip. Now let's break down the direction and storyboard in the episode. I loved the smart use of recap at the beginning instead of the usual one with the scenes from previous episode. It's cleverly done through point of view from Kuma and perfectly builds up the events of this episode. I also loved the lack of soundtrack here. It adds a lot to the serious mood. It's used a bit like 1015 with the cuts transitioning, so Ishitani's influence really will never fade away. Since Koyama is one of the mentors of Hyun Eri, it's obvious in this episode how many traits she has learned from him, especially after working as an assistant director on his Hachinosu finale episode. The episode had a lot of silhouettes, it was very colorful. It also had good use of negative space and exceptional soundtrack selection, as well as cool transitions. Not only good soundtrack selection, but we also had new soundtracks that were basically born for these moments in the episode. The pirate-like soundtrack for Rock's Pirates was perfect, and the acoustic guitar in the final scene is amazing. The storyboard also had good angles, good point of views, and the overall pacing felt ideal. Nothing overstayed its welcome. You could nitpick the part of Kuma hesitating a bit long to eat the fruit, but I feel that gives a sense of realism to the moment considering the tension happening surrounding him until he digests what's happening. Rock's introduction had cool use of colors. The overall lighting and compositing in this whole episode was very nice, and it's something that was obvious from Eri's old episodes that she gives a lot of attention to that department. Saturn's part also had nice transition out of the scene. The final scene is so Koyama-like. Usually he gives us symbolic flashbacks like these at the end, and here Hyun Eri does it as well, with a scene representing Ginny as that one thing that is worth living for after Kuma's parents. The night atmosphere and colors as well as the new soundtrack made it incredible. For the animation highlights, obviously the parts with Mori's supervision were the best. The part with Garp chilling had amazing art and it looked straight out of fan letter. These lines are just too appealing to look at. Another Mori's cool part was the fishman freeing Ivankov. Again, thin lines and distinct jaws with amazing character acting throughout. Surprisingly, Rox and Roger didn't get any crazy animation, only strong art and great direction. But a familiar animator reappeared for Garp. His cut had great fabric animation, great volume and artwork for such a brief cut, so it's funny that he stood out the most out of all of these. The Kuma cry at the end was also good, looked a bit unusual in some bits, but it was still effective and powerful. Overall, I'm very satisfied with this episode. I'm looking forward to Hyun Eri's improvement from now on, because she seriously knocked it out the park. Next episode is looking to be the least promising of the flashback yet. It doesn't look bad, but it looks too average. The content is not too crazy, so I'm not worried here. Despite that, Naoto Shishida seems to be on the episode, and there's a cool explosion cut with Kuma's attack that is very promising. And that should wrap this up. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe. See you next time.